Greetings, my scattered brothers and sisters in the Lord. Trust you know the Lord is with you wherever you find yourself scattered today, and that you know that his presence with you is more than enough for whatever you might face today. We are with Jesus. We're in Mark chapter 15, and Jesus has just been mocked by the soldiers before they are about to crucify him. And so I'll pick it up at Mark 15, beginning at verse 21. And they compelled a passerby, Simon of Cyrene, who was coming in from the country, the father of Alexander and Rufus, to carry Jesus' cross. And they brought Jesus to the place called Golgotha, which means place of a skull. And they offered him wine mixed with myrrh, but he did not take it. And they crucified him and divided his garments among them, casting lots for them to decide what each should take. And it was the third hour when they crucified him. And the inscription of the charge against him read, "The King of the Jews." And with him they crucified two robbers, one on his right and one on his left. And those who passed by derided him, wagging their heads and saying, "Aha, you who would destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, save yourself and come down from the cross." So also the chief priests with the scribes mocked him to one another, saying, "He saved others, he cannot save himself. Let the Christ, the King of Israel, come down from the cross that we may see and believe." Those who were crucified with him also reviled him. There's a lot that we could unpack there, and we'll look at a few things in days to come. What catches my attention most today is that they offered Jesus this drink, this wine mixed with myrrh, and Jesus did not take it. Now, Jesus was clearly beat up and in a lot of pain. He had been whipped, and he could not carry his own cross, and so they commandeered somebody to carry it for him. And just before they're about to nail him to the cross, they offer him this wine, this myrrh mixture, and this was kind of a painkiller. It would have numbed Jesus to the further pain that he was going to endure in terms of having nails go through his hands and feet and hanging there. And so it was kind of an act of mercy to offer him this so that he would not have such pain and he would be numb to it. And yet Jesus refused it. And so I've been thinking, why would Jesus refuse this? And I mean, it could be that it just didn't taste good. He knew it didn't taste good. He didn't want it. I mean, that's a possibility. But I'm also thinking that maybe there's a couple of other reasons why Jesus would have refused this numbing painkiller. And one is that it was a way for Jesus to once again demonstrate that he was actually in control. That, there was a lot happening to him. And it'd be very easy to kind of have the mindset or to kind of look at this, look what they're doing to Jesus, look at what's happening to him, and almost kind of take the will of Jesus out of it. And so for Jesus to refuse the drink, it's a way for Jesus to kind of reinsert his will. And this reminder to everybody that Jesus is laying down his life. It's not simply being taken from him, but he is laying it down. And no one has authority to take it from him except that Jesus agreed to lay his life down. And so this is not just something tragic happening to Jesus, but he is the Son of Man who is giving his life as a ransom for the many. That Jesus is going willingly, making an atoning sacrifice for the sins of humanity. And so maybe that's part of why he refuses it, to just kind of remind everybody, hey, this is not just happening to me. I'm still in charge here. I'm laying my life down. And so the refusal to drink becomes a way to assert his own authority. So that's a possibility. Second possibility, in terms of why Jesus would refuse, is that Jesus is choosing to enter into our pain. That Jesus is not going to self-medicate, that Jesus is not going to numb himself to the pain that happens between life and death. And here we are in excruciating pain right before death, and yet Jesus will not numb himself to that. That Jesus is not going to kind of give in to the fear of pain and just medicate himself away so that he's not experiencing the cross, that Jesus enters fully into the human plight, fully into even the pain of death, that he enters into that. He's not going to run from it. He's not going to numb himself to it, but he is going to experience it. And it's kind of like Jesus enters into our pain and the depth and the experience of our pain so that we might know his peace, we might know his presence, we might know his hope. And so Jesus isn't going to run from it. He's actually going to embrace it because he's going to be victorious and he's going to come out the other side. He is trusting that the Father will bring him through it. And I think about that in terms of, wow, how often do we medicate ourselves, look to avoid at all costs pain? And I'm not advocating that we go around looking for pain. And I have my bottle of ibuprofen up in the cabinet for when my knees are hurting. And so, I'm not saying that we somehow, be done with anesthesiologists. I get their need and I appreciate them and I've taken advantage of them. But I also wonder, how often do we run from pain, medicate ourselves from pain, numb ourselves to pain, and in the process, we actually numb ourselves to the presence of Jesus. We actually miss out on Jesus meeting us in our pain with his presence, with his comfort and hope, and the promise of victory to bring us through. And so that kind of becomes the word to me today is, hey, slow down on medicating yourself, myself, to the pain of life. That Jesus actually meets us in that pain and offers us his peace, offers us his presence so that we never go through anything alone, and that Jesus gives us his hope of seeing us through to the day of victory, to the day of resurrection. And so wherever you find yourself scattered today, just be careful that in numbing yourself to pain, you might actually be numbing yourself to the presence and to the hope and the promise, the comfort of Jesus. And so may God give us grace to face painful things with the confidence that as we do that, we discover Jesus didn't imbibe that mixture of myrrh and wine in order to escape pain. He went through it. And we might just discover that he's with us to walk us through whatever pain we might have to endure, and that we might walk out the other side with his presence and with resurrection. God bless and have a great day.